Hey, welcome to the Bag Chatter podcast. I am your host, Brian, joined by my co-host, a man who is playing in a U.S. Open qualifier this week. Adam, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. I'm going over to Rolling Green when we're done here and rolling putts for many hours, possibly.
This is very exciting. We are also joined today in a first for us by a guest. It is Mike Shade of the Chasing Scratch podcast. Mike, how you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for having me today.
Man, what an honor. I almost paused and didn't say your last name because I had a little bit of a brain fart. There was a time in your podcast when you didn't release your last name, and I didn't know if I could or not.
For 3 years, Eli and I were undercover, and now we're out there, Jerry, and we're loving every minute of it. Adam, is your qualifier tomorrow?
Thursday, day after tomorrow.
Okay, Thursday.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, some real nerves happening. Real nerves. Not really. I wouldn't say looking forward to it is how I would categorize it. but it's happening. It's we've committed to it. I've talked about it publicly. I'm gonna play that thing in 2 days, so that's happening.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's great. I did see somebody post on Twitter today. I don't know if it was a round from today or just maybe yesterday, but somebody shot a 108 in a U.S. Open qualifier.
Mm-hmm.
So that's out there.
I saw a 135. I saw a 135 from a guy who apparently goes from like golf association to golf association. He gets banned at one. He'll go to a different state, join a U.S. Open qualifier. He's done it a bunch of times. He shot 135. So I think I'm not going to come in dead last in the country because there's a 135 out there. So second to last, maybe. We'll see.
You got this.
Crazy.
No more negative talk. You got this, baby.
Adam, what is the handicap that you need to play in a U.S. Open qualifier?
1.4.
Mike, let me throw this to you. If you and or Eli, or when you and or Eli get to a 1.4 or lower, is this something that perhaps we could see one of you guys do?
Oh, it's 100%. Yeah,
Ooh.
it's 100% happening. If we get to a 1.4, and then what's the mid-am?
The mid-am's like 3.4.
3.4?
Which
we've never. The lowest we've ever been is 3.5. So but I mean, at least that's what we'll see. But I mean, actually, we won't see. I'll commit Eli too. We hit that handicap on the qualifying day to do it. We're in.
Love it.
Cannot wait to see that. That would be. Have you ever played competitive golf? Like, have you ever done a state AM or anything like that?
Nothing that crazy. I have played in a couple tournaments, but nothing with like a state AM on it. I played in a I played at maybe 4 tournaments in my life.
Mm-hmm. It's a different animal.
It is a different animal, 100%.
But you do oftentimes do these final majors for your podcast, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. Not the same level of competition for sure, but you guys have had like 50 plus spectators out. These are rounds there's stakes involved. You're going to be talking about them on the podcast, so that's got to feel a little elevated.
That was the most nervous I've ever been. I was way more nervous on the final major round than the actual tournaments that we've been in, just because there was a gallery. But I mean, I would still be terrified if I was Adam right now. But
well, you're spot on. Spot on. Terrified is the word.
If it was me in your situation, not you, you're better than I am. So you should be fine. You should be confident, baby. You got this.
You've never golfed with me, Mike. It's fine. It shows. We went out for the practice round. What day was that? Last Wednesday. Yeah. And just being on the grounds, knowing it was close, I just snap hooked my drive off the first tee. I was nervous. I took a breakfast ball in my practice round. I'm not going to be able to do that in the qualifier. I don't think they allow one in U.S. Open qualifiers. But I mean, I was nervous just being on the grounds, and so I'm sure I won't be nervous when it actually comes. That's just a practice round situation.
Yeah. Mike, as you know, We are the Bag Chatter podcast supports the Bag Chatter brand. We are trying to grow a golf brand around playing good golf and also making funny, if not occasionally cringy, content. So part of what I wanted to talk to you about today was kind of the growth of your golf brand. Go back to the beginning a little bit, find out what you guys were thinking when you started, what kind of stuff has changed in the process. When you think back to 6 years ago when you started this, I'm sure there was more than one motivation, but what were the main motivations? Was it to do something creatively with your best friend, Eli? Was it to play more golf? Was it that you always wanted to have a podcast? Like, what were you guys thinking going into this?
Man, yeah. We weren't thinking this. We were not thinking this at all, like what we have today. It was going to be just a one-year thing. It was a creative endeavor that we wanted to do together, but it was also centered around something we were both passionate about, which was getting better at golf. And we just thought and Eli always wanted to do a podcast. I didn't really listen to podcasts up until a few years before, but like since like 2008, Eli bought microphones. He was like, "Hey, we're gonna have a podcast one day."
Oh wow!
And I was like, "What are we gonna talk about?" And he wanted to talk about basketball, I think. But we never had a good idea until it was kind of like, well, hey, let's try to get better at golf, and then let's try to document the whole thing. And the goal was really just we wanted to tell it in like a narrative format in a story, and that was really all we had. And then we just hoped we hoped we could make something good that our friends and family would like. And yeah, and it went a different direction than that a little bit, which is awesome. But that was the farthest thing from our minds at that point.
And the fact that this part of the story was that you guys were going to try to not ruin your families and not ruin your day jobs as a part of this pursuit, that kind of worked in two ways, didn't it? Like, it let your families know that like you were trying to keep your priorities straight, but it also kind of gave a different perspective on the whole chase versus like Tom Coyne's Paper Tiger, I'm going all in on this.
Right. Yeah. That's what I mean. Tom Coyne inspired a lot of it because I read that book many years ago. But I've always that's always like that would be so cool to do that. And when Eli and I's first conversation, I was like, man, how cool would it be to do something like this? And we kind of said, yeah. Well, what if you did it with just the time we have? You stopped playing rec basketball. You stopped anything else other than in your free time you dedicated to golf. How good could you get? So that is kind of where it came from, because that was the only thing we were going to do that was going to be possible to keep the important things.
I've always thought with your podcast, I heard about it from Brian, and when I heard about it, I was so jealous of the concept that you guys had come up with, because you guys have the best elevator pitch for a podcast that is possible. And I will say, I was close to it. I had a short-lived blog at one point that was like the chase to 1.4 to get into a U.S. Open qualifier.
Oh,
it has like 3 posts, so I can't really claim much there. But I was so close to the idea, and then when I heard about your podcast, my first thought was just sheer jealousy, because you'd completed the idea. That's the main thing. But like, how do you, when you've gotten as far as you've gotten with this podcast, and you were saying it exceeded your wildest dreams in terms of this, how do you set goals going forward with a podcast like this, when it's like, hey, we wanted to have fun, I wanted to do this with my friend, I wanted to play golf more? You know, for us, I think it's just like, my main goal with this podcast is, can we have enough people to justify the time to do it? That's the main goal. How do you, when you've got, these Velcrin tournaments going on, and you've got, you're sponsored by Titleist and all these things where it's just like wow, do your goals remain the same, or have your goals just like expanded exponentially as you think about the next 2 years?
That's a really good question, but it's a hard one to answer. the goal that I try, and I'm not saying this is the right way to do it. This is just how I am. But my goal is always about the content. And if I just think if we make content that we like and that we think is good, then that's goal number one. And then everything that comes after that is secondary. But that's what I try to stick to, because there's been, and I haven't stuck to that 100%, or I'm not perfect at that. But when the focus is anywhere else, then at least for me and Eli, I think we would be doing things for reasons where I don't think we can pull it off. Like, I don't think we can pull off something that if I said, okay, hey, I've got an idea because I think this idea would get a certain amount of looks or mentions or clicks or things like that. If we go in with that focus, first of all, normally you're wrong. Like, normally the things that catch on our podcast, we would have never guessed. Like LGLG, Come On Rick. I like the Come On Rick story. We get people yelling "Come on, Rick" at us, and I almost edited that out of the podcast, and because I was like, nobody's going to care about this story with my family and Rick, our club fitter. So I think that's the thing, that's kind of thing that kind of, it's like whenever we think something is like nails, a lot of times like, oh, this is going to catch on. Like sometimes people like don't even mention that, and it's the things that we don't know. So to me, it's kind of focus on, if we focus on our goal, improving, and then creating the best story and the best content around that. That's really how I try to keep our goals. And so I'm not sure if that's very helpful or a very good answer, but that's kind of what we do.
It's a very good answer, and I've been telling Brian we should focus on putting out good content, and he just insists on putting out this garbage that we've been doing. So
Hey,
so that really helps me out, you know?
I just watched the torso match, and I have to just say how when I heard torso match, I was jealous myself, because I was like, what? That is fantastic. Like it's a cage match. Like, you know, you name something. This is going to be a torso match. Whoever loses has to take their shirt off for the last hole. Like, that's good. I really like that.
Hey, that might be, if we have an ongoing torso matches, maybe that will finally be what it takes for us to get in the shape that we want to get in, knowing that your torso is going to be on the line.
I mean, the bad torso's already out there, though. I can't scrub that one from the internet. No matter what shape I get in, the bad one's out there.
Hey, but the KT tape, though.
What a reveal. What a reveal that was.
I've been wearing that stuff daily. In my daily life, I'm wearing KT tape now.
Was it in the shape of an Under Armour logo? It was like it almost looked like that. Remember that shirt that Spieth wore at that major when it had that giant, like, remember that thing on his back? It was terrible.
Oh, yeah.
It was like,
horrible.
Yeah. No. I mean, you got to look it up. You look up the KT stuff they have. It's very scientific. My wife's just slapping it on there before I go golfing. And it feels exactly like you have gigantic stickers on your back. So you can imagine how that would improve your golf game.
Yeah.
It's pretty. You can see why I wear it.
It looks good.
Thank you. That means a lot.
Mike, getting back to that idea that you were sharing about just always trying to keep the content the priority, I would imagine that gets harder and harder as you get more popular, because you probably get people coming up to you, or especially your fans, saying like, I just love listening to you guys talk. Like, I don't even care what it is. In fact, you guys have a Patreon where every Tuesday you put out an episode that is just that. It's just you guys riffing on, you know, news or whatever it is from that week. So, you know, is that something that you're always keeping in mind? Because I feel like if you let that get to your head a little bit, it could be like, listen, people love us. Like, as long as it's related to golf and as long as we're being ourselves, we can put anything out and people are going to enjoy it. And you might be right about that if you thought that way.
I mean, I think what we found, though, is like, you can't make everybody happy, because there are some people that say that exact thing, and they're like, every episode could be 2 hours. And we put out a 2-hour episode this year, and I was cringing because we've never put out an episode that long, and I didn't know how people would react to it. And some people were like, "Why don't you give us this every week? I'd love 2-hour episodes." Then there are people that are like, "I'm tired of hearing the same stuff. Can you dwindle it down to 30 minutes? Like your old stuff was 35 minutes, and it was really easy to it was so tight." So I think it's tough. It's just tough to know. You want to listen, but you also want to. You can't listen to everybody, and you can't make everybody happy. And I think that's what we've kind of. I guess that's kind of why I always kind of go back to, do me and Eli like it? If we like it, if we listen to it and we like it, then we feel good about it. We put it out. If we get into the mode of doing something because we think that's what people want, that's when at least for us, that's where we struggle. We've gotten into that trap a couple times, but where we put something out and I'm like, I don't know if I feel like this is good, but this is what people have been asking for, and those are the episodes I kind of want back. If that makes any sense.
Yeah. When you think back to that first or second season, it could be something like you just described, an episode idea, or maybe it could be something else, but are there decisions that you remember making, maybe like fork in the road moments where you were like, oh man, I'm so glad we did this, or looking back like, oh, that was a mistake doing that early in the show?
Content-wise, overall content-wise, I don't think so. We've been pretty disciplined, and especially the first few seasons, because our jobs at that time were so busy. Like we put out 18 episodes a year, and so it was every 2 to 3 weeks we put out an episode, and there was a lot of time in between and a lot of time to think through what we were putting out. But I would say the one thing I'm really glad is we had some opportunities to partner with certain companies early that we said no to, because it would have been tough. It would have been tough for us to say, I believe in that product. And that was kind of the fork in the road when those things came up, because that was, again, that was never the plan. It was never the plan to have sponsors or anything like that. So when that stuff started becoming an opportunity, and that was like late season 2, Eli and I kind of drew that fork in the road of like, we're only going to talk about something if we love it or it makes us better at golf. And probably those two things are gonna work together. So we've, but I think that there's a couple, and I won't name any names, but there's a couple of sponsors we almost went with that were not like that. That would have been kind of things that we just talked about because we were going to make money off of it, and I'm kind of glad we didn't do that.
I want to respect your decision to not name names, but why did you say no to Callaway? Was it their club specifically, or?
It was their balls, man. Their balls are so ugly.
That's okay. I just wanted to ask. You didn't name any names, so.
Even Callaway's top, and we didn't say no to Callaway, by the way, but even I do have this thought. Callaway's got to do better on their top tier ball. Like their top tier ball looks like a DT Solo from like, you know what I mean? Like it doesn't look like the ball that you want to play.
Yeah, I haven't kept up with their balls specifically because I consider myself a golfer. You know, it's like I don't care to. But like exactly. They all have the word soft in it. Every single price point has the word soft. You can't tell the difference. It's like super soft, chrome soft. I'm like, this is just poor marketing. But I'm not. I can't actually go. I was about to go deeper on the Callaway thing, but I'm not going to. I'm going to stop right there.
I'm going to stop too. But I could go. Adam, me and you go offline because I've got lots of opinions there.
So, Mike, do you think that's a smart approach for most people to take? You know, Adam and I aren't in the position yet where we have partnerships or sponsorships. Surely we'd love to grow to that point. Do you think that's definitely something we should consider?
I mean, I think it's tough because I think in our position at that where we had the podcast, it was not, we were not in a position where that was something we were trying to use to generate revenue or to do anything like that. I do think ideally that's the way to go, because it just makes the advertising a lot easier when you believe in the product and you use the product. That's just the best. That's the best of both worlds, because and especially when it relates to what you're doing. So most of our products relate to getting better at golf. So it's very easy to talk about them because you're talking about them naturally. I mean, I do think that's the most ideal way, but I know that that's not necessarily how everybody approaches advertising. And some people draw a hard line and say, "Hey, for this podcast to exist, we need sponsors, and we're gonna." Some use a podcast network and insert ads, and they might not have anything to do with exactly what you're doing. And I'm not saying that's not a way to go, because I think there's some great podcasts that do that. It's just me and Eli felt like for us that wasn't the way to go.
We did have I didn't even tell Brian this, we had a fragrance company and a chewing tobacco company reach out to us this week, and I didn't even let them know. I just unilaterally decided we're not going there. We're not going to advertise fragrances. So I think we're already following that example slightly.
And,
Okay.
But no skull.
I just don't feel like I'd be the right face for that product. I don't feel like I could deliver.
That's because you're a Zyn guy anyway. So
Yeah, that's what it is.
yeah, those are the only.
A fragrance company, though. I mean, gosh, that would be.
That would be a tough sell. Do I look like I smell fantastic? You saw the torso episode.
Maybe that's why.
Do you want that guy telling you? Do you want that guy telling you how to smell?
On a podcast, that's hard on audio. Like,
Yeah.
guys, I know you can't see me but you can smell me. But Brian, I can tell you smell good. You sound like you smell good.
Speaking of audio platforms, that's a good segue to something else I wanted to ask you about, which is, as you guys have progressed through the years, how have you made decisions on which platforms to use and which not to use?
For us, I don't know that there's been a science. Like Twitter, I understand. Instagram, I halfway understand. But it was clear eventually when we decided to show our faces, we needed an Instagram. TikTok, I've got no clue. Like I just but that format, I think for us, we lean on storytelling a lot. I think our strength is not in the short form. Like you guys make some great short form videos that I really like. That's not where we're great. So that's why we don't have a TikTok currently. And then as far as audio platforms, I guess there's no choosing there.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it would just be. I guess specifically with YouTube, what has YouTube done for you guys to this point, and what do you see it doing for you in the future? Is it ancillary, or do you want to grow it just as much as the podcast?
Let me be careful about how I say this real fast.
Okay. Take your time. I won't edit any of this out.
He's privately Googling ancillary.
Yeah.
No.
I actually have a funny story about that. I'll tell you
I
later.
don't even know what ancillary means. I think what I'd say is YouTube has a ceiling for us because of where we live. Eli and I talk about all the time. If we lived in the same city, if we lived in the same state, if we lived closer together and we could do things, it's very difficult. It's very easy to do a podcast with me in North Carolina and him in Kentucky. Video is way harder, and we've tried things where I film stuff by myself, he films stuff by himself. We don't like it. It's not as, we lose the dynamic where we think we're good. So we do want to do more YouTube stuff together when we are together. It's just it's about trying to maximize when we're together in order to do that. That's what, and again, that goes back to, I feel like we could make content and put more stuff on YouTube. Would we think it was really good? I don't think so. So that's where. So to answer your question, we would love to have YouTube grow and do more on YouTube. I think we are limited by how we want to do it, and the location in which Eli chooses to live, really, because who wants to live in Kentucky when you can live in North Carolina?
Have you guys ever been approached by any YouTubers, golf YouTubers, about being featured in any of their videos or doing any collabs?
We have not.
Huh. Interesting.
Do you take that as disrespect?
High disrespect. High disrespect. Have you guys?
Some smaller ones, yeah.
Yep.
I don't want to say that we might be videoing with them. I shouldn't call them smaller ones on the podcast.
They're bigger than us, probably.
They're bigger than us. Yeah, no, a couple, but yeah, I don't have anything further to add. I don't know why I'm still talking.
Okay.
Yeah. Funny random sidebar that I might delete about the word ancillary. Well, it's funny you said you didn't know what ancillary meant.
I do know what ancillary means, Brian.
Well,
I didn't say that, but that's fine.
Well, I didn't know what it meant. My sophomore year of college, I can't remember what class it was. It was day one of the class. He hands out this one pager of, this is everything we're going to cover this semester or this term in the class. And he handed one out to everybody. He said, we're going to go around the room. Everybody has to ask one question about this page. And this is how we're all going to learn about what's happening. So I'm in the middle of the class. I got a little bit of time, but like the two questions that came to mind, they get asked before me. Finally, it's almost my turn. I've got nothing. And I just see the word ancillary in one sentence. It was something about and other ancillary equipment. And so it came to me, and I just said, can you describe what ancillary equipment means? And he goes, it's not an engineering term. It's just a word, ancillary. It means like other things. Not a good question. And then he moved on to the next person.
Not a good question.
I'm scarred for life by that.
Did you pronounce it correctly? Because if you didn't know the word, did you say ancillary right? Because if I'm thinking of how the word looks, it might not be like, is it?
Yeah, I think I nailed it.
Okay.
Which I don't know if that's better or worse, but yeah.
You didn't say ancillary.
I did not say ancillary.
Do you think you use the word disproportionately much now to make up for that reality?
Clearly. Clearly I do. Mike, can we get an update on Spider Watch? Is the spider alive? Has he been spotted?
The spider is
again?
alive. Yes, the spider is alive. If you've seen me looking up, it's because it's crawling. It is now behind a picture frame on my wall. It is a black spider. I don't know if it's a black widow.
Probably.
Probably so. This is a dangerous podcast.
I feel like you've been asked this question probably a few times, but what do you think would be different about your golf game if Chasing Scratch had never existed? Do you think your skill level, the amount you play, can you even picture a world in which Chasing Scratch doesn't exist?
It's hard to picture my golf. It's hard to picture my golf game in a world where Chasing Scratch doesn't exist.
Would you be a worse player?
Oh yeah, we know so much more. Even though our handicaps have kind of stayed the same in the last 3 years, like the guy I am today would murder the guy from season 3. Yeah, it's tough. We've gotten to talk to so many people that have kind of and coaches and people that have given us so many things that I never knew. I never knew about the golf swing. I never knew about playing golf. I never knew about how a scratch golfer looked. Like, I just assumed that scratch golfers were just very close to PGA Tour professionals, and you know, I know that there's 27 levels between a scratch golfer and a tour pro. So yeah, I mean, it's hard to answer that question, but I would most definitely be worse, way worse.
Okay.
With that alteration of how you view a scratch player, how do you view the goal differently? Do you think the goal of getting to scratch is more realistic or less realistic than you did when you started?
I think we've gone back and forth on that a couple times, because I think we thought, at least I thought, we could become better ball strikers than we are with less practice. I didn't know how many repetitions it was going to take to really become a great ball striker through the bag. But now knowing that scratch golfers really just don't make the giant mistakes and play really smart, I think it's more realistic than maybe we thought in season 2. So I think it's more realistic. It's definitely harder than we ever thought it would be, because at one point we thought it was possible we could do it in 1 year. But
Yeah.
But I definitely think we're more hopeful now than ever that we have a healthy look at what it takes, and we're taking steps to get there. If that makes sense.
Yeah. It's your golf swings look better. I know that doesn't necessarily mean anything, but they do.
That means
but...
everything, Brian. That means everything.
One of the first emails I got from you ever was when I was doing the Hosel Jockeys golf podcast, and I was talking about the grind garage and working on swing changes in my garage, not really even hitting a ball or hitting it into a net. And you sent me this long email that was like, danger, danger, danger. I tried this 1 year. I completely ruined my swing. Beware of changing your swing in this way. Do you remember that email?
Oh my gosh, yes. I almost didn't send it because I thought it might be, I didn't know you at the time.
Yeah.
And I thought it might be scary, but I truly did. It was completely out of love, because I did that. I think it was like 2005. I did it in a winter. I did it without hitting balls, and I did it based on looking at positions and mirrors. And as soon as I got to the golf course and tried to play, and then even right away, I tried to go back to my old swing, and it was gone. And it was a year and a half of just terrible golf, and that's why I had to hit send on that email.
Well,
that's the opposite of a feelsy move, is what that is.
Exactly.
That is a technical move. Technical thinking gets you nowhere. That's what I've heard. Never tried it, but I've heard it. I've never tried it.
Yeah. Adam and Mike share at least two things in common. They both love to be referred to as feelsy players, and they both love their sauces. Big sauce guys here.
Big sauce guys. Guys.
Absolutely. A French fry. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
When you hear what I have to say, you'll regret it. I was just going to say that like French fries, they're just an edible spoon for ketchup. That's what a French fry is.
There's a lot of spoons out there. None better. There's not a better spoon than a chicken wing, because you can put like three forms of sauce on there and just
ruin it
with it.
No.
But I will say, Brian, I did notice something. I was going to bring this up. Adam and I, we've connected on many levels. Not only are we both feelsy guys, we're sauce guys, but after last episode, I reached out to Adam and I told him that I did believe that he could make a documentary. I have that belief in him that you don't have. But then I did see on the video that Adam plays a yellow golf ball.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's about 50-50 these days, which is kind of a weird move also to go back and forth. But here's why. I'm going to tell you, first of all, I got a bunch of yellow golf balls because I went to this yard sale for this where this guy was selling boxes of perfect golf balls for like $9. So I got like 6 dozen boxes of yellow AVXs that look like they've never been hit. So I was like, I can hit a yellow golf ball. Absolutely. And then I get out there, I start hitting them, and I've realized over the last couple of years, I've always had perfect vision. I've realized that I stopped seeing the golf ball land, and suddenly, but I can see the yellow golf ball land.
Interesting.
I recently went to the eye doctor just last week. I told them I've lost vision. They tested my eyes. They said, "No, your eyes are still perfect." I said, "Then why can I not see things as well as I used to?" Feels like a fair question, but they could not answer. But the but the yellow golf balls have helped me see from a long distance where my ball lands. A very long distance, obviously.
I'm not a big fan of them myself, but you know.
I don't judge it. I don't judge people that play yellow golf balls. It's just I just thought we were the same in everything. I can't play yellow.
There have to be some delineations.
Yes, I thought we were exactly the same. If I took off my shirt, you'd see the KT tape that I have on.
The other thing that's nice about the yellow golf ball is you come up, you're pulling up to a green. There's 3 balls on the green. You instantly know which one's yours.
Yeah.
That's nice as well. I have not decided. I've got 3 yellow golf balls sitting next to me right now. I haven't decided whether I'm actually going to game yellow in this qualifier. I feel like I might have to go white for a U.S. Open qualifier.
I feel like white is the right play. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll keep that in mind. I'll take it under advisement.
I agree. So, Mike,
It's a feelsy, saucy take. Sorry, Brian.
Well, I resent your feelsies. I resent your sauces. I want things technical and dry. Anyway, yeah, Mike, you helped me out with the Grind Garage thing years ago. You even helped me out this past week. Adam and I had a conversation last week on our podcast about competition and being competitive, and I want to make sure we get to that before we have our heart out. But I kind of had a realization that happened slowly at the end of that episode, and then after the mics turned off, as Adam and I continued talking, and I talked a little bit with you, Mike. I don't know if folks listening to this listened to the last episode, but basically I've approached competition over the last few years by saying I'm not competitive. I don't care if I win or lose. I just want to have a good time. And it generally works out for me, except for the times when I am in competition and then either I win and pretend like I didn't like it, or I would lose and my body would kind of freak out because I think it knew deep down, like, you're trying to have this identity of somebody who's not competitive, but you are. And so I'm having a real issue with it. I mentioned it to you, Mike, a few days ago, and you kind of brought it back to that Kobe quote that you guys talked about recently as well, right?
Yeah. I mean, when I heard that, I was like, that's hogwash. Like, Brian is a very competitive person. And I think it's, what I said was, what it reminded me when you kind of told me that, you were having this kind of trying to figure it out in your head. It reminded me of the thing that I've kind of learned earlier, or I guess just a few months ago, from that Kobe quote of it's hard, it's scary to say that you want something, because if you want something, if you say you want it and you go after it as hard as you can and you don't get it, then how do you feel about yourself afterwards? And then I read there's a Steve Magnus quote that I read at the same time about that that not trying or under trying or trying to is protecting your ego. So you can always say, like, well, I didn't try my best, or So like in your case, I would think maybe it's like, well, I lost, but I mean, I really don't care about winning. Where I've played enough competitions with you, Brian. I know you care about winning. So, but I think what was interesting about it was, I think that the practice that you have of not getting too high or too low is the right, from every mental coach we've talked to, everything that we're trying to do. The practice is the right practice, where you're focused on your game, you're focused on your process, you're not focused on how you're doing in the match. That's not, because that's not going to help you play your best. But you were just, maybe you're lying to yourself that you don't care.
Yeah. Believe me, I've been thinking about it all week. I joked about that I would talk to my therapist about it. That appointment is next week. That's been on the calendar for a while, but I might bring it up to him. I talked to Erica about it, and I decided that going into this weekend, my final gap match weekend, that I was gonna embrace this. I was gonna finally admit to myself that I am competitive. I love to win. I hate to lose. And if that means that I lose and I just have to lean into it and be angry and mad, like maybe that's okay. Maybe that's fine. So that was my plan going into Sunday. Was curious to see how it would play out. But before that happened, Luke asked me to play golf on Thursday, my son-in-law, and Lenny, cue the dramatic music.
Oh,
Wow.
man.
Wow.
We've got a dramatic scorecard reading, folks. I think it's okay to do that since Mike is here on the pod with us.
It's fine. It's fine. Do you want
Okay.
the music? I'll send you the music.
Wow, maybe.
We've really pressured him into this infringement upon his intellectual property.
This was the whole point of the podcast. I didn't
Yeah.
even want to ask him about his podcast. All right, so I don't want to belabor this too much. So we went to Pilgrim's Oak, which is the same place where we shot the torso. All right, Luke and I playing.
Torso match course.
That's how most people know it.
It's the place where I've been the most naked on a golf course. It's
Can we call it Pilgrim's Torso Oak?
torso.
The torso. Just picture the torso of a pilgrim coming off the Mayflower.
Exactly.
Sorry.
They had a long journey. They did not look like that torso.
It was pale and filled with scurvy. All right.
Just a rickets torso.
Okay, Luke and I, just the two of us in a group, not waiting too much between holes. Hole number 1, par. Hole number 2, I miss the green, but I chip it to a foot, par. Hole number 3, I miss the green in a bad spot. My par putt actually runs like 6 feet by. I make bogey, 1 over. Hole 4, 85-yard par 3, playing very short. We're playing from the whites because I'm playing with Luke. I think like 6,200. 85-yard par 3, ball lands 2 feet from the hole, rolls out to 5 feet, make the birdie putt.
Okay.
Back
Even.
to even. Hole
Okay.
5, good drive. My approach is a little bit short. It's resting right where the fringe meets the rough, like right on that collar where it's going to probably affect my putt. I have the putter in hand. I decide not going to do it. I grab my pitching wedge instead to hit a chip. It's about a 20-foot chip, tracking the whole way, hits the pin, drops in. 1 under par.
Whoa.
Hole number 6, par 5. I've got 12 feet for birdie. I miss it, but I tap in for par. Still 1 under. Hole number 7,
One under through 6.
1 under through 6.
Okay.
Hole number 7, my approach shot comes up a little bit short. I chip it up. It runs by the hole to about 8 feet. I miss the par putt. I'm back to even.
That's more like it.
Wow, you're not as encouraging as Eli is during these. Maybe I should get Eli. Let's bring Eli in for this. There we go. All right, hole number 8 is a par 3, 165 yards, downhill, into the wind. A little bit of a daunting shot. I hit a beautiful 7-iron to about 20 feet. I've got one that's moving right to left, a little bit uphill. Sink it for birdie. Back to 1
Dang.
under, 3rd birdie on the front.
Okay.
Okay.
Number 9, par 5 up the hill. My approach kind of settles on the back fringe. Got about 25 feet. I lag one up real close. Tap in for par. 1 under through 9.
All right. So Brian, let me ask you. Let me just ask a mindset question. You're leaving. You came in with this mindset that I'm a competitive player, but I'm like what is your mind doing 1 under through your first 9?
I'm glad you asked. I am fully embracing it. I'm actually adding up my score. I knew where I was the whole time.
Whoa.
I wrote down the 35 on the card before I flipped it over. On the way to the course, I was telling myself, I'm going to care this round. It's not just a fun time hanging out with my son-in-law. I want it to be that too, but I'm going to actually try, and I want to play well. And if I don't play well, I'm going to be annoyed. And so far, Adam's like, you're describing a normal person.
I've lived this way since I was 6. I don't understand. Like, I leave golf courses annoyed 70 times a year.
I really try not to do that. All right, so I take the turn at 1 under. I'm talking about it with Luke. I'm like, hey, I'm 1 under. He's like, yeah, you're playing good. So we go to hole 10. My approach lands on the green, kind of runs off into some rough, but I hit a pretty good chip to 6 feet, and I make the 6-footer for par to stay 1 under.
Dang.
Hole number 11, it's another par 4. I'm on in regulation with about 30 feet. I hit it a good putt to about 3 feet past the hole, tap in, stay 1 under through 11. Hole number 12, this is a par 3 over water, one of the more daunting shots on the course. I've got a 9-iron in hand and make my worst swing of the day. I pull it. Because I pull it, it's not even on line with the green. It's short. It lands in a creek. Red staked, of course.
No.
Yeah, so a little deflating, but I'm trying to stay in the positive, competitive mindset. I get up there, I find my ball. It's literally in the creek. I can't even try to play it. So I take a line of relief, straight back, drop, have like a 35-yard pitch shot, and I put it to about 5 feet. I hit a real good one. Have 5 feet to save bogey, and I hit it. So
All right.
So even.
we stay even through 12.
Okay.
Even through 12. Hole number 13, I hit a bad drive that leaks into some tall grass, and my approach shot only gets about halfway to the green. I'm like 20 yards short of the green. I hit a decent pitch, but it rolls out to about 15 feet, and I make the putt to stay at even par.
Okay.
The Scotty's hot.
Okay.
The Scotty was very hot.
Some people 5-putt at this course, not Brian. Brian's just pouring everything in.
By the way, that hole 13, that was where the torso video started, for those of you listening and watching who saw that. So that was hole 1 of the torso.
Dad, Grandma, this is where that started.
So now we're on hole 14. It's the par 5. Okay drive, okay approach. It's pretty short of the green. My third shot actually hits and just not plugs, but it stops short, like 10 feet short of the green. So I'm not on in regulation. Get out the pitching wedge to bump and run something up to this middle pin. This thing is tracking the whole way. The whole way. It's moving left to right, but the ball's moving right on the line. At the end, it just dives in front of the hole, but settles to like 4 inches. It was so close to going in, but it was a tap-in par to keep me at even par.
All right. And now, Brian, remind me, what is your best score ever?
My best score ever is a 2 over 73
Okay.
at the Four Seasons Golf Club.
Okay.
2 over is the best ever.
Which is a glorified putt-putt, just to be clear. So this being at Ricketts Torso, is a lot better already.
Yeah. When Columbus designed this course, it's a classic.
That's right. There are smallpox blankets on every tee box. It's
I'm really trying to get through this. Sorry.
Smallpox.
They do have vitamin C at the turn. I took some of that to fight off the scurvy. All right, so I'm even par. I've got 4 holes left. Hole 15 is the hole with the crazy 2-tiered green. The pin is in the back again. I hit a great drive. I have 105 in downwind. Hit my 100 club. A beautiful Titleist Vokey wedge. Hit it perfectly, but I can't really see exactly where it lands and where it settles. I get up there. It has rolled off the back about 2 paces. So I hit a little chip shot that rolls out to about 4 or 5 feet, but I make the putt to stay at even par.
Gosh. This putting performance.
3 holes left. Hole 16, a short par 4, where Adam famously outdrove me by 32 yards. I hit a drive that gets in the left rough, and then I hit an okay approach, but the pin is similar to where it was in the torso video, but and my ball kind of goes up where your ball rolled, Adam, but it stays on the green. But I've got this 20-foot putt downhill, curling left to right. I actually hit a pretty good putt, but it's almost impossible to stop it near the hole. It rolls out to like 7 feet. And Try not to take too much time over it, but I hit the putt to stay at even par.
All right.
This is
Are you 100% from
insane.
5 to 10 feet? From 5 to 10 feet, you're just
insane
100%.
performance.
It's incredible. I don't think I realized how good of a putting performance it was until I did the numbers afterward.
I mean, are you shrugging? Are you just looking over it and say, I'm looking at magic on the sideline?
After every putt, I just look over at Luke, and he would be like, "Whoo!" It was.
I'm sorry, what would Luke be like?
I don't want to do that again.
Okay, cool.
All right, hole 17 is a par 3. This is what eventually sunk Adam in the torso video.
Yep.
And I'm almost exactly in the same spot that I was in that video. I had a 7-iron. It just misses the green short, but I'm on that closely mown apron, maybe like 3 paces from the front of the green. So now I have to decide, am I going to chip this, or am I going to run this through like maybe 8 feet of fringe before I get, and it's an uphill putt. I'm back and forth. I don't want to wait too long. I decide to putt it, and the line was good, but it just slows down a little bit too much in that closely mown fringe, and it settles about 5 feet below the hole. This is not a great effort. The putt that I have next, I'm pretty sure it's inside the hole. I hit it, and it drops to keep me at even par with 1 hole left.
This is
Okay.
out of control. Out of control.
We get to
5
the
7
last,
feet.
I'm even par on the last hole. I said, Luke, this is where I want to be. This is why I play golf. I was verbalizing it. I got a par. It's not the easiest par 5. There's water left off the tee. There's water right on your approach.
There's shirtless people just mingling about.
You're just picturing KT tape.
I'm having PTSD from seeing Adam. Yeah, shirtless. The white tees were a little bit back, which I kind of... There is OB right, too, and I was afraid of going in that too long. Anyway, I hit a drive that leaked a little bit right. It was fine. It was in the rough, but it was fine. I get to my ball. I've got like 235 to the pin, but it's sort of settled down in rough. If I tried to go for it, it would be right over water. It's a kind of a no-brainer layup situation. So I pick a fairway bunker on the left, pull 6-iron, and I don't flush it, but I hit it pretty well, kind of right in the middle of the fairway. Now I have 75 yards into the pin for my 3rd shot on this par 5. The pin is in the back. The green is a little narrow back there, and all
75
around
yards?
75 yards. All around the green is sort of closely mown. It falls off just like a couple feet all around as sort of like a collection area. 75 yards. I've been feeling good about this little baby wedge that I've been hitting. So I grabbed my Vokey, and I hit a pretty good one. The ground was really soggy, and I had it in my head. I was a little worried about like stabbing it into the ground and getting stuck. So I picked it a little too clean. It landed on the green, didn't bite quite as much as I wanted to, just rolled off the back and settled about maybe 3 paces off the green, where I now have to get up and down to shoot even par for the first time in my life. But I have this shot. My little pitching wedge has been chipping amazing all day. So step over it. I'm like, okay, if I land this on the green, it is going to fly by the hole. I've got to hit this just into this little uphill so it bumps up.
Do you do a robot calculation of how many yards you have to fly it and how many yards it's going to roll out?
I wish I could have. I wish I could have so bad. The nerves got the better of me a little bit, and I didn't quite hit it as hard as I want to. It ended up taking 2 bounces into the hill, getting up onto the green, but only rolling another couple feet, leaving me with a 15-foot putt for par. It was... It hurt. It hurt. But the Scotty was hot all day. I had just seen Luke putt on a similar line. I'd seen how his moved. Again, it was 15 feet. Obviously, I was not going to leave this one short, so I factored that into how much break it might take. But off the putter face, I knew it was a little too far left, and it wasn't going to drop.
What a loser!
I've just wasted your time.
Oh man!
It missed by about a cup left. rolled out actually to like 4.5 feet. I did hit the comebacker, got me in for 73, one over.
Wow.
Nice
My
4-foot
my-
comebacker. Good
Yeah.
gracious.
Yeah.
Wow.
Your
It was-
strokes gained putting, I mean, must have been like I don't even know what it was, but gracious, what a round.
Yeah, it was
incredible.
25 putts total.
25 total?
Yeah.
Wow.
So it was amazing. Of course, I left the course saying I'm never going to play bad golf again. Like, this new mindset has changed everything. And then I played the next day and shot 78 at Honeybrook, so it didn't. But yeah, best round ever. And you know what I was telling myself the last few holes? I was a little nervous, obviously, which is good, but I was like,
Yeah.
I'm going to be here again. I'm going to be here again. This is not like my only chance to ever do this.
Right.
I plan on being here again. And anyway, the PS to the story is that I went into Gap on Sunday. After having the first hole, I won the second hole, third hole, fourth hole, fifth hole, and sixth hole to win the front.
Look at him.
To win the front 5 and 3.
My gosh. He's blossoming in front of our very eyes.
I was 7 up at the turn on the overall, at which point my opponent dropped 2 birdies in a row on me to beat my pars. He ended up beating me 2 and 1 on the back, but in the overall, I beat him 6 and 5. So
You won the front 7
Yeah.
up and then lost the back. That's amazing.
yeah,
But yeah, no, good. You didn't. So do you feel good about that with just getting some points on the board?
Oh, yeah.
In the Gap matches.
I was the first time I ever went into a Gap match thinking, like, I care about this. I want to do well. I'm going to be pissed off if I do poorly, instead of trying to pretend like I'm somehow above it. Yeah, it was great.
You were a real boy with feelings.
Taste these tears, robot. That's awesome, man. That's so good.
Yeah, so that was a good little stretch
Excellent.
of golf. I don't know what's coming ahead, but that was a good little stretch of golf. I want to thank you guys for helping me to learn something about myself, to finally admit that I'm competitive. I did have some moments, obviously not during the 73, but during the Gap match where I was probably more angry than I've ever been. It's like I wasn't letting myself get mad in rounds where maybe I should have gotten mad. So it's still a work in progress. I'm figuring it out. Maybe I got to find the right tension for that. But thank you guys. Thank you for your help in that.
Dude,
Congratulations. Yeah, that was weird. I didn't like it.
What, you didn't like the way you said congratulations?
The simultaneous congratulations. It was weird.
Yeah,
So
sorry.
us guys unite. Jeez.
Mike,
much
do you have time for one
sausage.
more question, or do you have to go?
I got time.
Okay. All right, so Mike, I want to get you...
Sorry.
All right, Mike, I want to get you out of here on this question while we're talking about competition. Eli has dominated in a lot of the competitions on the podcast,
Thanks for bringing this up. I appreciate
which
it.
runs contrary to the first, 10 plus years of your golfing life where you dominated him.
Correct.
Personally, I think it's not really an issue. I just think it's an incredibly small sample size. But how have you viewed the competitions with Eli over the last few years? People have said, "Oh, Eli just turns it on in competition," as if you don't, because I feel like you do too. So where are you in your competitive mindset with Eli, and are you trying to make any changes for anything going forward, or do you just feel like you just got to focus on you?
Yeah, historically, I think there is like if I'm truly honest, I think I won for so long against Eli, but he always made a mistake coming down the stretch whenever he was close, and it's almost like I've caught myself just expecting he's going to make a mistake, but now that he's better, sometimes he doesn't, and maybe I haven't reacted the best to that. But I think there's a lot of different when I think back through all the different competitions, there's always a different story. But I think it boils down to Eli for most of the podcast years has just been flat better. Like he's just better. He's better than I am. Even though, especially in years 2, 3, and 4, Eli played more than not because he played more, but he did play more. He practiced more. He was a better ball striker, and he figured out a way to be good enough around the greens where on any average day, any given day, he was probably going to beat me. I think I've closed that gap a little bit now, and it's more about those small differences in competition. Realizing what makes me play well and what makes me play bad. We now know where quiet, at least somewhere where quiet Mike comes from. Becoming aware this year of a couple things that I've got going on that can bring out, I'm best when I'm borderline cocky, playing golf and talking a lot and jabbing a lot. That's why I like playing Wolf. When I get quiet, I play bad. And sometimes in those serious competitions, you just think you should be quiet. Like you think like, oh, I'm going tiger mode. And that kind of puts me in a bad spot. But I think I understand more about my golf swing. I understand more about how to fix things when things are going wrong. And then also like, what I'd say, Brian, is I like what you said, and I'm not a psychologist, so don't say that I'm not saying I'm right on this. But what I liked about what you said was, you're not lying to yourself anymore. But like I also think some of those things you were doing were good things. Like some of those things you were doing about not focusing on, not going up and down and up and down. I think those were good. It's just knowing why you're doing it. And something that we've been told for a while is fall in love with the process. If you fall in love with the process, that's what your goal is. Your goal is that you follow your process. Results will come, and that's really what I've been trying to do this year. And I think I'm better at that than I have been in my life. So I'm always very confident when I go up against Eli. I've probably been overconfident and maybe a little bit naive in past years because I think he's just been better, but he's not better anymore. And we can we'll see what happens this year.
Let's go. Adam and I would love to come out and watch the final major this year, if that's possible. I would love to see this.
Please come. Adam, we'll just eat sauce the whole way down the fairway.
I think I drink sauce. I don't eat it, but it's fun. Yeah.
Listen, if
we'll eat things with sauce on them.
Perfect. I'm in.
If something, God forbid, happens to Stevie and he's sick that day or something, Adam could step in as your backup caddy, and as he's handing you clubs, just be squirting different sauces into your mouth.
Pouring sauce on me.
Brian's volunteering labor for me, but that's fine. I'll do it.
Oh,
can I ask one question before I leave?
Yeah.
No, actually, no. It's a no for me.
Okay.
Sorry.
Adam, I want your. I know you're talking bad about yourself earlier. Mm-hmm. You're making jokes. What's your honest strategy going into Thursday?
I am trying to think about it as a normal round of golf as much as is possible. And that's a little bit against how I tend to view things. I tend to want things to feel big, and I want to be either high or low. I want to feel the emotions that come with anything. But I don't think I can. I know that if I let myself think about the details of this, that it's going to be too much and I'm going to play poorly. So the fact that Brian's going to be there and I play so many rounds with Brian, I'm trying to have conversations with Brian and golf on Thursday. And my goal for the day is really to play golf like I play golf. And that's sort of an undefinable goal, but I want to get to the end of it and have nothing where it's like, oh, that's because you were in a U.S. Open qualifier. So if I could at Rolling Green shoot 72 or 85 any given day, and I want it to fall well within that range, and I want it to feel solid and like I truly gave it everything that my game has. And just kind of grind and play like I did in the practice round. You know, so it's like didn't score great in the practice round, but
Shot
knew where my
82,
shots.
right?
Yeah, I could have shot a lot better. I had 5 3-putts. I had a weird triple bogey, and so I'm like, okay, that could have been a, you know. I come out of every round saying, oh, that could have been this with, you know. And so I just want it to be normal golf, where I play to my general capability and don't embarrass me. I'm playing with 2 Division I golfers, you know. So I'd love to also be within 5 shots of either of them. That would be good too.
Gotcha.
Mike, as our resident psychologist, are you any problems with anything Adam just said? Any thoughts? Any thoughts for him?
No, I love it, man. I just I admire what you're doing, and I think I just wish you the best of luck, and I can't wait to hear about it. And but I think you'll do great.
Well, again, you haven't seen me play golf, so it's fine. No, thank you. I appreciate it.
But I've seen your torso.
Well, who hasn't? I mean, at this point, who hasn't?
78 people have. That's for sure.
That's right.
That's for sure.
But,
Mike, thank you so much for your time, and keep doing what you're doing on the pod. It's awesome.
Thank you guys. Thanks for having me.